Your anxiety is not broken. It is old, and it was built for a world that looks very different now. Somewhere in your brain right now is an alarm system shaped over hundreds of thousands of years, and it is still going off for reasons that may not make sense anymore. This is the real story of why. This is Ugg. Ugg has not slept properly in 3 nights. Nothing has actually happened in 3 nights. Ugg does not care. Borg tells him to relax. Ugg explains at length all 14 ways tonight could go wrong. Borg regrets asking. Here's the thing. Ugg's brain is not malfunctioning. It is doing something it evolved to do. The question is, why an alarm this loud was ever useful in the first place. The brain has a fast threat detection network that includes a region called the amygdala, along with other connected areas. When something looks dangerous, the body can start preparing for action before conscious thought has fully caught up. That kind of speed mattered. For most of human history, noticing a threat first was often the difference between surviving it and becoming its next meal. Some of the threats our ancestors faced again and again were predators, food shortages, and conflict with other humans. Those were not the only dangers out there, but they were exactly the kind of problems a fast alarm system could help with. Picture it in daylight instead. A hunting party moving through open grass, tracking a wounded animal. When the grass moves wrong 20 feet to the left, every single body in that group reacts within a fraction of a second. Heart rate spikes, muscles tense, peripheral vision narrows to focus on exactly one thing. Nobody had to think about it. Thinking would have been too slow. This time, it actually was a predator. And the alarm that fired half a second too early is the same reason that hunting party is still alive to tell the story tonight. Which, to be fair to Ugg, were all extremely real problems tonight. Ugg has personally seen 2 of the 3 this week. Talk points out that the predator was actually just a large bird, and the other humans were Finn's cousins visiting for the week. Ugg maintains that both were, at the time, extremely threatening. Here's the part that should genuinely change how you think about your own anxiety. Researchers describe this using something called the evolutionary mismatch hypothesis, a framework for understanding why some modern environments interact differently with systems that evolved a long time ago. Modern humans have existed for roughly 300,000 years. Agriculture is about 12,000 years old. Cities are younger still. The internet is younger than most of the adults watching this video. Many of the systems that shape how we react to stress had a long stretch of time to develop around dangers like predators and starvation. They've had far less time to adjust to emails, deadlines, or a phone that buzzes 40 times a day. Your brain isn't literally mistaking a notification for a predator, but modern triggers can activate some of the same broader systems involved in threat, attention, and reward that once handled real physical danger. Ugg, for the record, has never once seen a phone. Ugg has, however, jumped at a suspiciously shaped rock 4 separate times this week. Finn asks if the rock has ever actually moved. Ugg says that is exactly the kind of thing a rock would want you to think. This isn't just theory. Anthropologists studying hunter-gatherer communities today have looked at real, measurable stress responses, and some of what they've found overlaps in interesting ways with modern anxiety research. One well-known study looked at stress hormone patterns among the Hadza, a hunter-gatherer community in Tanzania, and found responses tied closely to specific resolvable events. It's one data point, not a rule for every hunter-gatherer group, but it's a useful window into how acute stress can work. A member of that group spots something concerning. Everyone stops, assesses it together, and within a minute or two, either moves on or handles it directly. Then, notably, everyone's body actually settles back down. Modern stressors often work differently. An email problem doesn't resolve the way spotting a predator does. It can sit unresolved for days, which is part of what researchers look at when studying prolonged or repeated stress. Researchers distinguish between acute stress, which can help the body respond to an immediate challenge, and chronic or repeated stress, which can create different problems when the stress response gets activated again and again without enough recovery time. Neuroscientist Robert Sapolsky studied this by comparing zebras to humans directly. A zebra's stress system fires hard during a lion chase and shuts off completely the moment it's over. Ours doesn't always get that memo. And here's the part worth taking seriously. Repeated or prolonged stress can keep the body's stress regulation systems activated more often than is healthy, and over time that can affect sleep, mood, and even cardiovascular health. Meanwhile, back at camp, Ugg has identified a new threat. It is Sella's cooking pot. It made a noise. Ugg does not trust it anymore. Sella explains that the pot always makes that noise when it's boiling. Ugg says that's exactly what a threatening pot would want her to believe. This may also be part of why some modern anxieties feel disproportionate to the actual danger. Being late to a meeting isn't a predator, but some of the same systems that once handled real danger can still get pulled into the reaction. One possible reason public speaking feels so threatening is that being watched and judged by a group may engage some of the same social evaluation systems that mattered enormously in small, interdependent communities. In a small, tightly knit group, losing your standing or being cast out could once have meant losing your entire support network. Your brain may still carry a faint echo of that stake, even though today it usually just means an awkward meeting. Here's the part that should genuinely unsettle you. That alarm you carry was tuned for a world of 30 people who all knew your name. Now try to imagine what it does with a world of 8 billion strangers, most of them visible to you every single day on a screen. Picture an ordinary modern morning instead. A commute, a crowded train platform, 100 strangers within arm's reach, and not one of them a threat, and your body's still quietly bracing anyway. And researchers studying urban stress have found that dense, unfamiliar crowds can quietly activate some of the same vigilance systems that once scanned a landscape for danger, even when rationally, nobody there means you any harm. Likes, comments, and messages may engage overlapping systems involved in reward, attention, and social evaluation, systems that mattered deeply when belonging to a small group was essential to survival. Ugg does not have a phone, a meeting, or a group chat. Ugg has, however, spent the last 10 minutes convinced that an owl is judging him personally. So is Ugg's anxiety a flaw? Not exactly. The alarm system is still trying to protect him, even when it reacts to situations that aren't actually dangerous. Understanding that doesn't make the alarm stop firing, but it does explain something important. The anxiety itself isn't broken. It's running on wiring shaped for a world that mostly doesn't exist anymore. Maybe the better way to think about it is this. The same sensitivity to danger that could once have helped people survive can sometimes become overprotective in a very different world. So the next time your brain sounds an alarm over something that isn't actually a predator, you're not broken. You're carrying wiring shaped over a very long stretch of time, a little out of date, still doing its best to protect you. As for Ugg, the owl has since left. Ugg remains unconvinced that this means anything good. New episode next week. Same tribe, same overactive alarm system. Subscribe if you want to see what Ugg gets nervous about next.